France still celebrating its dramatic World Cup win, the party clogging all of downtown Paris, people dancing and singing and drinking all night long, tens of thousands of fans proudly waving the flag, singing the national anthem, the faces of the players projected all over the city at the most famous landmarks, the players themselves so happy they barged into their coach's press conference. Of course, why shouldn't they celebrate? They won the World Cup. I too am celebrating, although I don't have any champagne to spread around. I should note for the last month, the I-24 newsroom, our English, Arabic, and French channels were locked in a very tough competition, earning points along the way for correctly picked scores. It's been a tense month, but look at this. Your humble host, Jeff Smith, won it all. Largely because I correctly predicted at the very start a French victory before the very first game. Look at me go.
Should I say it came in last?
Yeah, Mohamed Al-Qasim did not do well in dead last. It's all right. You have the heart of a champion. You have the heart of a champion. Yeah, you picked Saudi Arabia to win. You had Saudi Arabia winning some games. All right. He tried. That's what counts. He's brilliant with Middle East news. Maybe not World Cup scores. All right, let's go live to Paris. We have sports journalist Antoine Grynbaum. Antoine, thanks so much for being with us. I want to ask, at the start, there was not a lot of excitement, it seemed, for this French national squad. A lot of reports about how there wasn't a lot of French people traveling to the games. There wasn't a lot of news coverage, enthusiasm. Why was that at the start, and how did that change, perhaps, as the competition got underway and more people saw how talented this squad was?
It was totally unpredictable, this victory, because at the beginning of the competition, no one could have imagined that France would win the World Cup. And Didier Deschamps, the coach, the head coach, he had in mind one thing, that he understood that if he wanted to win the World Cup, it would be only with a defensive animation on the field. And during the first game against Australia, there was an offensive animation, and he changed his plans. And there was, after that, lots of games, and there was like a huge team, a mind spirit, which builds game after game. And so now, you know what, I'm going to tell you my life and explain to you how difficult it was to join the studio, because everything is closed, very close to the studio, because we're very close to the Champs-Élysées here in Paris. And maybe there's going to be more than 1 million of French people just waiting for their heroes, for their world champions. They have landed like a few minutes ago at Roissy Airport, and after that they're gonna running down the Champs-Élysées before visiting the castle, before visiting Emmanuel Macron at the
plane just landed
house.
A few minutes ago. As you mentioned, we're waiting. We'll get some live images shortly of this important, roadside celebration in the parade. The team now back on French soil. I want to ask, the reality that a lot of these players, they're immigrants. They're first generation, second generation players who come from other nations around the world, from African nations, and they're playing alongside players whose French lineage goes back generations. How important is that? What does that say about France? What does it say about the current situation in France, that there's, historic French players playing with new immigrants side by side?
In fact, there's no story about that. You have to understand one thing. It's a link to the former colonized countries by France. And so there is a very narrow relationship between France and lots of African countries. And all that, guys, they're French. And there is a comparison to do between this generation, the generation who has has won the World Cup yesterday, and the other one, the one who won the World Cup in 1998. There was an Arabian immigration in 1998, and the symbol of that was Zinedine Zidane. Now you have maybe a bit more African players, but it tells a certain part of the story of France, and it's a very good thing to have players from African countries. They are French, but from African origins, or the ones with other origins, and you have this melting pot, which has been a very good thing for France, and of course for our country on a footballistic way.
You talk about it being a melting pot. We should also point out that these are young players. Mbappe, perhaps their best player, still a teenager. These guys, this crew, are they going to be back in 4 years? Could this team defend as champions in Qatar?
Of course, you are talking about Kylian Mbappe, the Paris Saint-Germain player. He's, of course, the star of the team, and maybe he's gonna win the Ballon d'Or next December. You know, that trophy, which is the famous, the very famous, the most famous on a personal way. There is a difference, and I'm gonna make another comparison with 1998. The first one won the World Cup. Is that in 1998 you had a lot of experienced players, all the players. Now you have the second youngest team which have won the World Cup after the Brazil of Pelé. So it means that you have lots of good things to come for France, for the national team in 2022 and in Qatar. But the symbol of that, and the guy you have to put your attention on, is Kylian Mbappe. He looks like Ronaldo, the Brazilian one, not the Portuguese one. He resembles in his way of playing to Ronaldo, and we wish him, of course, to win the Ballon d'Or in December, and to have, of course, the career as the Brazilian one has had in the past.